Hello and welcome to Managing with Money. In this video we are going to talk about your CV. No matter what type of job you are looking for. For example, a part-time job, full-time unskilled, or a skilled job, or professional career. Your CV is a vital part to get you started on your path to a regular salary. Or to help you make that step up, to the next level. So you can generate your first, or increase your existing salary. In this video we are going to cover how to write a CV, how to use your CV to get a job, where to look for a job. In future videos we will be covering topics such as developing a personal brand, why can't I find a job, how to get a job without experience, preparing for the interview, telephone interviews, top interview questions, tell me about yourself question. What are your weaknesses questions? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What makes a successful person? We will be adding more subjects and will try to answer any questions you may have in our questions and answers section. If you don't get your CV right, you will not even get the interview. The CV gives a brief history of your education, employment history and a snapshot of your personality. Every CV is different, depending on the person and the job vacancies you apply for. If you are new to the employment market, any kind of job, full or part-time, would be worth putting on your CV. If you have never worked any kind of volunteer work, unpaid work or work experience is well worth including on your CV. The reason is, employers generally prefer candidates who are working at the moment, or have worked in the past. This gives the future employer the knowledge that you are used to. The routine of working, that is, getting up and being on time, and being presentable, ready to start work. In today's economical climate there is a lot of competition for job vacancies, and companies may get hundreds of applications. Try and put yourself in the shoes of the company that is advertising the job vacancy. Companies simply don't have time to give everyone that applies an interview. So in reality your job vacancy interview starts with your CV. The company you apply to will sort all the CVs into possible candidates they want to interview and the rest will go into the reject pile. At this stage, if your CV looks unprofessional, is difficult to read or just looks tatty and shabby, your CV will probably end up on the reject pile. Unfortunately, if this happens, it's game over for you. The way the CV is produced. The look of the CV is of vital importance to get you into the possible interview pile and past the first hurdle. And the content is even more important. When you write your CV you need to make yourself a perfect fit for the job vacancy. Again, put yourself in the shoes of the employer and think, what can I offer this company? What experience or ideas can I bring to the company? Put this in your CV but keep it brief and use a maximum of 3 or 4 bullet points. It's always worth researching the company you are applying to. Search Google and LinkedIn. There may be some interesting news of expansion plans within the company or why they are advertised for staff. If this is the case, it would be worth briefly including this in your covering letter. This will show you are switched on to current events, and you are taking a real interest in what could be your future employer. You can download a template CV and a standard covering letter from our download page. This will give you an idea on how a good CV and covering letter will look. You can also search Google for free CV templates, and search YouTube for more videos on how to write your own CV. Watch this video produced by the University Utrecht, based in the Netherlands. This shows the different sections of the CV and how they should look and what information they contain.
Your CV is the single most important document in your job application. This video will teach you how to write a compelling CV. One thing is certain, there is no such thing as the perfect CV. That's because the contents of the ideal CV are determined by the position and the person who is applying. Employers use the information in your CV to decide how suitable you are for the position. That means you should tailor the information in your CV to each position you apply for. Start by asking yourself this question: what do I want the employer to think of me after reading my CV? Once you know that, you'll know what to include, remove, or emphasize. Here's an example CV belonging to Lisa Hansen. We'll be going through this CV to discuss what information you should present in each section. The first section should contain your personal information, such as your date of birth and contact details. Whether you should include a picture of yourself depends on the position you're applying for and the company offering it. Just make sure you look professional in your photo. The second section is your personal profile. In just a few sentences, you describe who you are, what you have to offer, and what your ambitions are. The third section, education, is where you show your academic accomplishments from high school graduation onwards. Since your most recent school or academic program is the most relevant, start there and work your way back. In no more than 3 bullet points, you can list your most significant results, such as a high average grade, your most relevant courses, your thesis, or any minors you have completed. The work experience section should contain your internships and any previous relevant work. Clearly state your job title, responsibilities, and primary tasks. The more specific you can be about what you did, the better. Sort your bullet points by relevance, with the most relevant at the top. Describe what you do outside of school. This tells the employer a lot about you. What do you enjoy? What skills have you developed outside of your studies? What are your interests? You can list as many activities as you like, so long as they show that you possess skills your employer will find relevant. Again, use bullet points to indicate what you've done and learnt. If you possess skills that are relevant for the position but don't quite fit in any of the previous categories, add them in a separate skills section. You can include anything you're good at or know a lot about. Include things like a second language, training programs you've completed, software you know how to use, and any specialist or unusual skills. Keep in mind whether a given skill has any significance to the position you're applying for. The final section, Interests and Additional Information, is an opportunity for you to provide some personal background to help the employer understand what kind of person you are. Consider carefully what you choose to share. The best visual design for your CV depends on what industry you're in. The decision whether to put your CV in the yes or the no pile is usually made in the first 30 seconds. That's why you should bear 2 things in mind. 1, it should be easy for the employer to skim through your CV, and 2, the most important information should stand out from the rest. Underline important information and put it in bold, but try to keep the overall style consistent.
There are companies that specialize in preparing CVs as a paid service. You can find a company on Google, or you can search a website called Fiverr.com. This is where you can find freelance people with various skills. Again, they will charge you, but you may get a better price. If you do pay for a CV, you must read the CV and make sure it is 100% accurate. Also, you must make yourself very familiar with your CV. An experienced interviewer may realize you have paid for a CV and that you have not prepared it yourself. This could work against you, so be very careful. Now you have your CV ready. You have prepared it, using our template. You also have a covering letter ready to send, using our covering letter template. Or you have paid for a professional CV writer to produce them for you. There are various ways to look for jobs. For example, job advertisements in the local or national press. There is always a selection of job vacancies at the job center. You can also use SureStart, as they have connections to one of the biggest job boards in Europe. You can search Google for employment agencies, for example, cvlibrary.co.uk, agencycentral.co.uk, totaljobs.com. When we made this video, Total Jobs had 29,464 job vacancies across the UK. You can upload your CV to these websites for free. This makes it very easy and quick to apply for vacancies on any of these sites. Also, employers looking for people will search these websites for candidates. The employer or employment agencies will read your CV. If they like what they see, they will contact you to take things further. Let's talk about LinkedIn and how they can help get a job for you. If you do not have a LinkedIn profile, you should really set one up for yourself. A lot of recruitment managers and agencies check out people who apply for a position. so they search on your name using LinkedIn to find out more about you. If you have a good, up-to-date profile, it means you're serious about getting a job and having a career. If they cannot find you on LinkedIn, they may just move on to the next candidate. Unfortunately, it's game over for you. It's free to create your own profile. Once you have your profile completed, future employers can check you out. Watch this video on LinkedIn tips. The video is produced by Linda Rayner and her business is writing and producing professional CVs.
All right, so let's dive into LinkedIn tip number 1, and that is to have a photo that sends good vibes. So aside from your name, your LinkedIn profile picture is one of the first things that recruiters and hiring managers look at as soon as they look you up on LinkedIn. So you want to have a photo that's recent and of high quality. You don't want to be using any old or dark grainy photos, and you definitely don't want to be deceiving anybody by using a photo from several years back. So you make sure that it's bright, it's clear, and that you're smiling and looking professional. So for the guys, perhaps wear a collared shirt and a suit jacket, and if you can, a tie as part of your LinkedIn profile picture. And for the ladies, I would suggest wearing a blazer or just a nice fitted top that is appropriate for the office. Also, try to have a LinkedIn-specific photo instead of using a picture from a recent family wedding or some other occasion. And the reason for this is because you want to give the sense that you're serious about your career. So using any photo from any situation in any setting can cause some people to potentially question how serious you really are. So that's why I say if you want to put your best self forward in your job search and in your career, then that also applies to your LinkedIn profile photo. Tip number 2, use an appropriate headline. So I've seen different opinions on what people should put as their headlines. I've seen people say that you should have multiple description words that are high value and high impact, but to be honest, I completely disagree. I feel that you should just put your job title as your headline. So if you're a senior financial analyst, put that as your headline. If you are a finance manager, put that as your headline. And the reason for this is so that recruiters and hiring managers can find you easily. If they have a job opportunity and they're looking for someone with your type of experience, your title specifically, then they'll be able to find you. But if you put in all these complicated words and vague descriptions in your headline, people don't know what your title is and they don't know who you are and what you do. So I highly recommend using your job title as your headline. All right, on to tip number 3. Have a what I can do for you oriented profile summary. A lot of people don't even write up profile summaries in their LinkedIn profiles, and I think that's a shame because when you do have a profile summary, it helps you to get noticed by recruiters and hiring managers for buzzwords that they may be looking up. So in your profile summary, you want it to be short and sweet, but at the same time, you also don't want to just be talking about you, and instead talk about what problems you help to solve. And an example of how you would write your profile summary would be, I help organizations to perform budgeting, forecasting, and financial analysis over their revenue and expense budgets to ensure profitability targets are met at minimum costs. So that's an example of one sentence that you would have as part of your profile summary. And you would have probably, I would say 3 or 4 of those, and that'll make up a full paragraph, and that will be your little intro for anybody that lands on your LinkedIn profile. On to tip number 4, and that is to make your work experience short and sweet. You don't want to lay out all your details and your duties and your achievements onto your LinkedIn profile because that's what your resume is for. So your LinkedIn profile should just have your job titles, your companies that you've worked at, the exact months and years that you've worked in each of those roles, and maybe have one bullet point that kind of summarizes the overall responsibilities within each of the jobs that you've held. The reason why you don't want to lay out all your goods on the LinkedIn profile is because you want to pique the interest of the recruiter or the hiring manager. If they see that based on the titles that you've held and the companies you've worked at, that there's a potential fit for an opportunity that they have on the go, there's a greater likelihood that because they don't know everything about you by just looking at your LinkedIn profile, they will then reach out to you and ask for your resume. So that's how you then become a greater magnet for job opportunities. Tip number 5, show off your recommendations. A lot of people seem to hesitate to ask for recommendations from their old managers or bosses, but I say get over that fear and ask for those recommendations, because that's one simple way that you can get your LinkedIn profile to truly stand out from other profiles out there. And you want to make sure that, again, these recommendations are coming from people that you worked for, such as an old boss or a manager, as opposed to a peer. And the reason is getting a recommendation from a peer is fine, but it's still not as effective as if you can have it from someone who you consider a reference. And finally, tip number 6, put out your contact details. This is something that a lot of people forget to do, but I say always remember to include some sort of contact information, whether it's an email address, and if you're comfortable, a phone number, somewhere that is easily visible on your LinkedIn profile, so that any recruiter or hiring manager that really wants to speak to you right away about an opportunity can easily find it and reach out to you. So now you have it, 6 major tips on how to make a great LinkedIn profile so that you can become a magnet for new job opportunities.
We hope this video has been of use to you, and it will help prepare an effective and successful CV. Also, it will help you get on the short list for that all-important job interview. The next video will tell you how to prepare for the interview. This short video course on interview techniques is not part of the Managing for Money Certificate of Achievement, but it may help you get your first job or help you progress your career into a better paid job. That in turn will help improve and strengthen your financial position. Thank you for watching.